With Valentine's Day coming up, I thought this was the perfect time to share a couple of dinners that are great for a date night in at home. My husband and I are new parents, so going out for a date night is not as easy as it used to be. These dinners are going to be perfect for a date night in. They'll be easy for us to make at home, delicious, and will still feel special. The first thing that I'm going to make is one of my husband's favorites. It's steak with twice baked potatoes and a wedge salad. Let me show you how we're going to make that. The first thing that we're going to start on is our potatoes. This is what's going to take the longest to make, so we want to start with this. If you struggle with getting all the parts of your meal ready at the same time, this is a great side to make because you can prep everything on this ahead of time and then just throw it in the oven while you're cooking the steak and everything will be ready all at the same time. To bake my potatoes, I'm just going to drizzle them with some olive oil, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of the Kinder's The Blend seasoning on there. If I didn't have this, I would just use some salt and pepper. This one has salt, pepper, and garlic. Now when I make my twice baked potatoes, I always make one extra, so I'll be serving 2 potatoes, but I like to bake 3 of them. And the reason I do that is so that I can make them overstuffed. So that one extra potato just gives me that extra filling that I need to make sure that they're overstuffed. I have the oil on the potatoes, and now I'm just going to sprinkle them with the seasoning. And now I'm just going to poke some holes into each of them before we put them into the oven. And I have my oven preheated to 425 degrees, and these will probably bake for about 45 to 60 minutes. I'll check on them after 45 minutes and see how they're doing to see if they need any extra time. It may vary depending on the size of the potatoes. The potatoes are out of the oven. I ended up baking those for about 52 minutes. And now I'm going to put some bacon in the oven. So I have my bacon on a sheet pan and I'm going to put that in the oven. It's preheated to 410 degrees and I'm going to put that in for about 15 or 16 minutes, and halfway through I'll just rotate the pan. If you are not making your bacon in the oven, that should be the one tip you take away from this video. You need to make your bacon in the oven. It's so easy, it comes out crispy every time, and it's so easy to clean up. We're going to use this bacon in the potatoes and also on the wedge salad. So I'm going to get these into the oven. The bacon's now out of the oven, so we're ready to put the potatoes together. We're ready to assemble our potatoes. I'm going to just take the potatoes that I'm going to serve. I'm just going to cut off the very top of the potato. And then I'm just going to scoop all of this inside into a bowl. And I'll do that for both of the potatoes that I'm going to serve. You just want to make sure that you let your potatoes cool down enough so that you can hold them without it burning your hands. I scooped out everything from the 3 potatoes and put that into the bowl here, and then I just saved the 2 potatoes that I'll be serving in the pan over here. Now we're ready to mix everything else into this bowl. And I'm going to start with some sour cream. I'm probably going to add about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of sour cream to start with. But then after everything's all mixed up, we'll just taste it and see if we need any more. Next, I'm going to add in some cheese. I shredded this cheese up earlier for something else, so I'll be using that. Just adding some cheddar cheese. So we'll put that in. I'm going to add in some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to chop up these green onions and also the bacon that I cooked. I'm going to save some of the green onions and the bacon for the salad later, and the rest I will add in here. Now I'll just mix everything up until it's well incorporated, and after it's all mixed up, I'll taste it to see if we need to add anything else. All right, this is good to go. I added a little bit more sour cream to mine, and I also mashed it up a little bit with a potato masher just to make sure it was all smooth. Now that it's all mixed up, we're just going to scoop it back into the potatoes. I've stuffed the potatoes, and you can see that I like to overstuff mine. I'm just going to put a little bit of cheese on top, and then these are all ready to go into the oven whenever we're ready to begin making our steaks. So if you're prepping these ahead of time, you can just cover this and put it in the refrigerator until you're ready to start making your steaks. We're ready to get started on our steaks. I took mine out about 30 minutes ago so that they are now at room temperature. And now I'm just going to take a paper towel and kind of dry them off here so that I can get a good sear on them. And after I do this, I'll just season them with some salt and pepper on both sides. All right, I've seasoned my steaks on all sides, and now I added a little bit of oil into my pan, and I'm just going to sear the steaks for probably about 2 minutes on each side. I have my pan on a medium to high heat, and then I'm going to finish them in the oven, which is preheated to 400 degrees for probably 5 or 6 minutes. The steak is out of the oven and that's resting now. I'll let that rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. I also took the potatoes out of the oven. I left those in the oven for about 30 minutes. So while the steak is resting, we're going to prepare our salad. I'm going to prepare a wedge salad, and here I've already washed all of my produce, so everything is ready to go. I have my lettuce already on the plate, and I'm just going to put some blue cheese dressing on here. I'm just going to put some extra black pepper on there. And then some tomatoes on both. And then some of those green onions and the bacon. Everything's ready and we're ready to eat. The steak is cooked to about medium, and now all that I'm missing is a glass of wine. So I'm gonna go pour that, finish this dinner, and see you with the next one. We're ready to get started on our next dinner. Tonight I'm making eggplant parmesan. If you're looking for a good vegetarian meal, this is it. You're going to like this one. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is slice up the eggplant. I have sliced them into pieces that are probably 1/3 to 1/2 inch thick, and I'm just going to place them on the sheet pan next to me. After we have everything sliced up, we're just going to sprinkle some salt onto all of our pieces of eggplant, and we'll let that sit for about 10 minutes, and that's going to help the eggplant sweat. And then after about 10 minutes, we'll just pat them dry with a paper towel. Now we're ready to start breading each piece of the eggplant. So I have about 3/4 of a cup of flour in one bowl. And the next one I have 3 eggs that I've whisked. And then in the third bowl I have about 2 cups of breadcrumbs, and I've mixed in about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. I have breadcrumbs that are already seasoned with Italian seasonings, but if you were using plain breadcrumbs, just make sure to season them up with like some basil, maybe onion powder, garlic powder. Just make sure those are seasoned so that you get some flavor onto the breading. So we're gonna take each piece of eggplant and just dip it into the flour mixture. Shake off any of the excess. Next, we will dip it into the egg mixture. And then coat it into the breadcrumbs. And make sure we get that really well coated. And then we'll just repeat that with each piece of eggplant. Now we are ready to start frying up each piece of our eggplant. So here I have just a couple tablespoons of olive oil heated up in a pan. And I'm just going to place each of the pieces of eggplant in here, and I'll cook them for probably 2 or 3 minutes on each side. And then I'll let them sit on a paper towel to drain off any of the excess oil. And I'll just repeat this with each piece of eggplant. Our eggplant is all fried up, so we're ready to assemble it in our dish. We're going to layer everything up and then put it in the oven. Let's get started. The first thing that we will do is put a little bit of our sauce in the bottom of the pan. I'm using just a marinara, but you could always make your own too if you prefer. You just want a thin layer of that across the bottom of the pan. Next, we'll put a layer of the eggplant. And then I'm just going to put some mozzarella cheese over that. Then a little bit more sauce over each one. And then I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese over each of those. And then we are just going to repeat this with another layer, doing exactly the same thing. On this layer, I'm going to put some fresh mozzarella. And then a little bit more sauce over each one. I don't like to completely cover each piece with the sauce because I like to make sure that it will still be a little bit crispy once it comes out of the oven. And a little bit more Parmesan on top. And then these are ready to go into the oven. I have the oven preheated to 400 degrees. And then I will leave these in for maybe 30 minutes, just keeping an eye on it to make sure that all the cheese melts and that everything gets browned. While that's in the oven, I'm also going to cook up some angel hair pasta to go with this. And you can make any kind of pasta to go with this that you'd like. It's out of the oven and it looks and smells so good. Let's plate it up and eat. It's all plated up. Time to give it a try. So good. This one is a must try. You must make it. It's delicious and it's really very easy to put together and a great date night recipe. Well, I hope you enjoyed these date night dinners. They're perfect for Valentine's Day or any date night during the week. I'd love to know down below what you usually like to make for date nights in at home. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my next video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!